No more fucking around. It's Wild Style Radio. Wild Style Radio.
Stand up and shout.
What is up? And welcome to the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show. Can you believe it? We are kicking off the third season of
Year
this
three,
program.
brother, year three. I know, man. I can't believe it. It's been too much fun. It's gone by quick.
It has.
I guess when you love it, right, that happens.
That's what they say.
Yeah, so 2 years behind us and another year in front of us.
And a big year coming up.
I know, man. You know, last year was a great year. Like, I was looking back at the concerts we went to. And,
It was.
Yeah.
And we finished it off with a great one.
We did. Well, okay, yeah, that's kind of true. We finished and started with what you're wearing.
Yep. Not from this show,
Right.
but from the show that kicked off 2024.
Exactly. Zach Sabbath will come around this area on New Year's Eve.
Yep.
Very thankfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we started 2024 at the Zach Sabbath show in Baltimore. I had even forgotten about that. And we closed out 2024 on New Year's Eve.
And that show, you know, if you want to go back to it, because I believe you can still find it, is featured on Ozzy's Boneyard.
Yes.
So if you're a SiriusXM member and you have the SiriusXM app,
Yep.
you can find that Zach Sabbath show, or just search for a Zach Sabbath show. And that was the one that we witnessed on New Year's, and it was a bitchin' show.
It was great. Yeah, I mean, obviously there were two opening bands. We didn't get to catch the Iron Maidens, but
Yeah.
Zoso,
We were a little late.
yeah, a little late, you know,
Yeah.
Oh.
It was New Year's.
a little pre-gaming.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a little dinner. But Zoso, the Led
Fantastic.
Zeppelin tribute band, they were
Yes.
phenomenal. They were great.
Fantastic. And I saw, like, I followed up with them there, or at least in terms of their social media and their web media. So they are touring.
Yep.
And they're going to be here in the Northern Virginia area a couple times
They
over
are.
2025.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I want to go back again. So we
Definitely.
might be talking about that.
I mean, they were good.
Yeah, strong Zeppelin tribute band.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then to me, like, I mean, to talk about Zach Sabbath, just to kind of like talk about them a little bit, they are a strong tribute band, but I also feel like you're watching Black Label play Zach Sabbath songs.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, there is a flair to Zach Wylde. That is Zach Wylde and is his signature sound.
And yes, I agree. And it's going to be interesting, right? Because in May, we're going to get to catch Zach again
Yeah.
with Pantera.
Yes.
The Pantera tribute.
Right.
Opening for Metallica, both shows we go to in May.
Right.
And I'm very intrigued to see how that goes, because I've read articles where he's talked about he worked with Dimebag's guitar tech and he wanted to try and emulate Dime sound.
Yep.
And Zach has a very distinctive playing style.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it'll be interesting because, yeah, like you said, catching Zach Sabbath, it's Zach, but it's him playing guitar.
Sure.
Because it's
Yep.
it's not a note for note. It's his version of the Black Sabbath tunes.
Yes, but it works. Works
It
great.
does. It's phenomenal.
Yep. And his vocals, you know, covering Ozzy,
Yep.
also sound great.
Yep. And there are times where he sounds just like him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that was a great start. That was a good
was.
point. So, I mean, we really, truly started with War Pigs. That was really the 2025 song, our first live experience of this year.
It was. That's
And
right.
Again, bitching, because, you know, I can't get enough of covering that song myself, and I love that tune more than words can describe. So that was extremely
It was cool.
exciting, like,
Yeah.
to start the year that way. Well, speaking of which, so like I know we were talking about like things to talk about. So instead of like jumping into the Boardwalk Rock live show,
Yep.
like, well, you brought up Metallica in May. So we've talked several times about the ticket service that I hate, which is Ticketmaster.
Yes.
I'm an anti-Ticketmaster because I'll tell you my number one reason. It's not for monopolistic corporate reasons. It's just their technology sucks. Like, it's on the buying end where we go to buy tickets, I can't tell you how many foibles I've come across
Sure.
in all these different situations with using technology at critical times when you're waiting in those long lines to get good tickets, and then everything just craps out, you know, in the Ticketmaster world.
Can you send a copy of this segment to my brother
Ticketmaster
who thinks that
sucks.
my ticketing thing sucks and all other ticketing things are perfect?
Yeah, Ticketmaster sucks. I will start like, and so we had two major ticket buying experiences recently, surprisingly, who did not use Ticketmaster, and you just brought up Metallica.
Yep.
So we'll start there. And so, like, with Metallica, you have obviously a major act that's going to be selling tens of thousands of seats, if not
Right.
hundreds of thousands of
For
seats
sure.
on the same day. And so their technology needs to be reliable. And surprisingly, the link that we went to was SeatGeek. And that was promoted as the original ticket selling agent for for Metallica, not Ticketmaster, but SeatGeek. And I almost didn't believe it at first, right? Because
Right.
it's a reseller, and it got its name being a reseller.
Sure.
Right? So, but lo and behold, and this is for our Washington, D.C. show, by the way.
Right. Well, because I think they own, or the Commanders, or I guess the new owner of the Washington Commanders, the NFL football team, they own the right of how the tickets are sold in their stadium. So that's SeatGeek, because now that we've used them, I get an incessant amount of emails from them, come catch the Commanders,
Right.
which I'm probably not going to do. But anyway, that's beside the point. But so I think that was part of it. But compared to Ticketmaster, because we've experienced those issues even at the Zach Sabbath show, which was a Ticketmaster show.
Sure.
Our friend Eric couldn't pull up his tickets as we're
Right.
going in,
Right.
because Ticketmaster was being flaky.
Right.
So it's not just the buying; it's the whole technology backbone. It seems like.
Yes.
But SeatGeek was great, and we got to compare it, right, because the other show that we bought the tickets for is the one at Lane Stadium at Virginia Tech, which went through the Virginia Tech ticketing office, which technology-wise is even worse than Ticketmaster,
Right.
because it took forever. I think they had, obviously that's a large stadium,
Right.
They sell out the tickets for the football games very easily. I don't think they had any idea what was going to hit them for that show.
Sure.
Because we were in line for good 30, 40 minutes before we even got close to the point of being able to buy tickets.
Right.
And my understanding is that was the experience for everybody. But, we had already gotten the tickets through SeatGeek, and we're waiting still.
That was right. Exactly. That was a painfully long, but at least it was still reliable.
It was, for sure.
And that's where I have problems with Ticketmaster on the user and ticket buying end, because sometimes you would just simply drop. The other thing that I appreciated was that I was buying them at work. So like, that's not going to be a strange experience. Most people have to go to a different location to work, and then they're on a wide area network.
Right.
So they're not on their little small like local network at their house. And Ticketmaster hates at all costs a wide area network. It just automatically assumes you're a scalper. You're not getting anywhere.
Right.
SeatGeek had a great way to resolve that. It was just a real simple little puzzle piece that you had to kind of acknowledge, like verifying that you are human, so to speak.
Sure.
Evidently, the security on that was good enough for Metallica to use. And then flip and turn around, and AC/DC uses it then also.
Yep.
And that's where we got our AC/DC tickets. So, hell yeah to these major artists, Metallica and AC/DC, who have found other ways to sell tickets than Ticketmaster.
And, we didn't have to go through the dynamic ticket pricing thing that Ticketmaster's doing now. You can imagine what that was going to be like for those two particular shows.
Reason number 3, to hate Ticketmaster, and yet another. So thank you so much to those artists and those record companies and those managers who are finding other ways to sell tickets in a better way. And of course, the Salisbury Center, because you're not using Ticketmaster.
Putting it out there. If anybody wants to use Wild Stop Productions for ticketing,
Love it.
I'll take care of it.
Absolutely. There we go. Even better. I did not know this.
Yeah, I do my own ticketing.
Love it. Love it. And without
Chris, of course, likes Ticket Spice because it's not me handling it more than anything. But he says it's because it's good and it's robust, and mine has problems. And I'm like, you had problems on the last one. Ticketmaster has problems. None of them are perfect, but mine usually it's pretty good. And a lot of times it's the user error more than it is the program, because I didn't program in something, or I programmed in the wrong seat number, or something like that, and that's why somebody's having problems more so than the program itself.
Right.
But yeah, I do my own.
Yeah. So like with that user error piece, like to get back to bitch about Ticketmaster a little bit more, if you flinch or twitch in the wrong way and, swipe over something or tap something or click something and inadvertently do whatever, you bump your monitor, it all derails. Like you're out of line, you're thousands of people back, you just lost your seats. And that doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, well, I'm not dealing with thousands of tickets.
All the same.
For my fights, it's pretty busy. But yeah, I mean that's things, and they're forcing everybody now. Like you have to have the app.
Yes.
And you have to
They
in your
want
situation.
mobile.
What happens if the Wi-Fi is out and you have no signal? You can't get in.
Right. Exactly. And
they won't let you look up by name or any of that. So
right. And I like the mobile device to me has more room for user error. Now that you're bringing up user error, because it is a bump and a tap or a swipe that is very receptive to, versus buying on a computing device where you have a keyboard. You have to really kind of dedicate, to making a change in that user interface. So I am not a fan, and I go back to that again and again. But I was a fan for 2025 and buying some of the tickets that we just bought.
Yep. And it's going to be some good shows coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. Speaking of which, all right, so that kind of transitions to our the show that was starting to be announced in December when we were wrapping up 2024.
Yes.
That we're excited to talk about in May. And I don't know if we're going to get there or not, because you and I, Kevin, have so many tickets for the month of May. It's ridiculous. We're swimming in shows to get to.
Right. The month of May is chock full of rock shows.
And it's a great problem to have. And then in Ocean City, Maryland, a great festival called Boardwalk Rock was announced. And in and around this time, traditionally, we have always gone to the M3 Rock Festival. And in fact, we went last year,
Yes.
had a great time. We made it on the stage, thanks to Pete Evick and the Brett Michaels Band. Fantastic experience at M3 Rock Festival. And we've been devotees of going to that festival. But meanwhile, this springs up. So if you look at the lineup and look at the acts, and look, John, I'm cooking again. The art department has come through, and I see that you're throwing it up on the screen anyway. So I have the lineup here in front of me. I just flipped it around to show it to the camera, but then John's going to be what John is and throwing a bigger, badder picture up.
Flip it back around.
Flip it back around. Going to zoom in. All right, there we go.
That's it.
That is it. It was great, great. Right, exactly. This is, to me, what I've always wanted the M3 Rock Festival to be. I'm not complaining about the M3 Rock Festival, but I wish they had some bigger and badder names. And it started to me to be that way, but then it slowed down over time. But first of all, the first thing I'm sure you're noticing, John, when you said holy lineup.
Nickelback.
That's Scott. He got the wrong producer. You got your producers mixed up.
Nickelback and Shinedown are headlining on Sunday. You got Def Leppard, Motley Crue headlining on Saturday.
Halestorm, though.
Right. You would never, and then there's acts that you would never see at the M3 Rock Festival in its traditional format that you do see here. So like you started right there with Halestorm, which is a great, I wouldn't even say like grunge or post-grunge band, like a great hard rock / heavy metal act.
Yep.
That is just younger. I mean, that's the only thing that's different to me about Halestorm than, say, a Motley Crue or a Def Leppard.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's bands that have traditionally played M3 year after year after year. Night Ranger, which they're always great. Extreme has been on the bill, and things have happened where they didn't perform.
Right.
But bands like that. But then you also got Royale Lynn and Tim Montana, who have recently been. Their tires are being pumped by Loudwire as. 2 of the 25 bands that are going to go big in 2025. So it's an incredible mix of, big names and new artists and the middle tier artists, bands that probably a lot of people go see at these festivals, but haven't had a ton of exposure, like Dorothy and those bands. So
like a Blackstone Cherry, which has been around for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, very exciting. The Saturday night, is the one that we could probably go to because we got tickets for another show on Sunday night.
Right.
But, but I wish, had this come out maybe before the Pussifer and a Perfect Circle Primus tickets.
I know.
This might have happened, but You know, the other thing I think about with this is with some of these bands that have traditionally been in M3 and the fact that M3 hasn't been announced yet.
And that's what I wanted to get to next. Yeah.
Which milk carton is the M3 festival on?
I know. I am dying. So the announcement has been made by the festival that there will be an M3 Rock Festival. Normally, we would have had our tickets by now.
Oh, yeah, because it's usually November they announce.
Absolutely. Like lineup would have been out. And then, then your ticket buying starts late November, early December. Yep. There you are at holiday time, like scarfing up money for tickets and holiday presents like at the same time.
Yep.
But then that wasn't the case this year. It was this lineup instead. I mean, we got Bret Michaels' band there, so
sure.
I'm sure our buddy Pete knows a little bit more, under the hood. I don't know if he's willing to talk about or can talk about, kind of deal with the behind the scenes on this. But we're in limbo right now with M3.
Yep.
And I look at this, John acknowledged it kind of out of the blue, not seeing the lineup and just seeing it for the first time, like, holy lineup. If you have an M3 festival, which is similar to this in the same month, are you going to get enough people to really kind of justify your acts and kind of make it be what it's been in the past? Or is everybody going to go to this instead?
Well, yeah. Well, and obviously it was COVID related, but a couple years back, M3 moved to July.
Uh-huh.
And I think that was because more people could come out and be at that show
that was
then.
July 4th weekend.
Yeah. So maybe they're going to move because they seemed, if they were going to hold it in the traditional time frame, traditional announcement, they definitely missed the wake up call because, for May, like we've talked about, there's the Metallica shows that are going to be in the area. AC/DC is in May. LA Guns is coming into this area in May. Perfect Circle and Primus. This festival's now been announced. So do you really want to try and compete with that? Or now are you going to try and call an audible and move to another time in the summer?
Right.
Which wouldn't necessarily be a bad deal either. Cause
Right.
you know how M3 is generally gone for us in early May.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, so I just have to throw out on this also, the Struts are playing. I've seen the Struts like again and again over the past. I've fallen in love with that band as party rock.
Right.
A lot of rock can be dark, can be angry, it can be, angst filled. And some people want that party rock to come back. And I would not call them a glam metal band. I mean, they followed to me more in the lines of like hard rock, like Queen.
Sure.
As opposed to, or even the Foo Fighters, as opposed to a traditional 80s style Motley Crue.
Right.
But all the same, they got that party feel, man. They are a fun band to watch and to have a few beverages too.
For sure.
Yeah. So the other thing too, like I'll say like a little bit about this lineup. I just have to put the side note because people have talked to us about this. Like, are you going? Are you not going? Who you excited about? Who you not excited about? I've had backlash about Def Leppard and Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is that headlining.
People don't want them as the headliners?
That people did not want them as the headliners because they did not like the last stadium tour. They were kind of like, that's too much backing track or too much of this, or Def Leppard not playing enough
old stuff
of their older material, that it's too much of the newer material, which doesn't have the same sound or feel as their older material.
Yeah.
And so, like, in other words, they're like, well, I'd be good after Halestorm. I don't need to see the closer that night.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's what I've heard. That's what people have relayed to me.
I've seen it. Yeah, for sure.
If you're out there listening.
Who'd you hear that from? Kevin Birch?
I'm not naming any names.
Wouldn't 100% be me.
You wouldn't be the only one. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
You would not be the only one. Especially, I would say, I almost gotten stronger reactions to Def Leppard, surprisingly. Now, I'm gonna gender stereotype here. A lot of that's been male. So I don't know. Like, Def Leppard's always drawn a strong female crowd.
For sure.
So I don't know if their feelings are the same.
No.
Yeah.
I doubt it. Yep.
All right. Well, so we got some shows in our future. And that's, some just our ticket buying experience so far at the end of the year and the beginning of this year. And
yeah.
You forgot the most important one for May. May 1st. LA Guns.
May 1st. Oh, of
I
course.
mentioned it.
Yeah. And then
Did you?
I did.
Kevin likes to end by wrapping up the full kind of breadth of everything that so I didn't want to necessarily spoil the surprise.
Yeah. I'm
of course
stoked for that show.
I know. And that could be actually, I don't know, it's May. Would that be a hint towards the M3 lineup?
It could be. I mean, they've generally not that version of LA Guns most recently, but
Right.
Riley's LA Guns have been on the M3 lineup, and so that would be fantastic too.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, past couple times we've seen LA Guns when they've come through town, Phil Lewis was back in the band, but now both him and Tracy Guns back in the band. So
Yeah.
I'm stoked for that one.
Yeah. Cool.
And
All
I,
right.
and I know Jeff is.
I know. He was the one that brought it up.
Oh yeah, I got on it fast enough to get VIP tickets.
Yeah, you did. That is very true.
Yeah, I don't go anywhere unless I get those now.
Was that Ticketmaster?
No,
Hey,
it was like Ticket Web or something.
And didn't it work well?
Well enough, yeah.
You
It
got
wasn't as good as Wild Style ticket platform. No, it was good.
Cool. All right, so we're bringing in a new year.
Yep. Everyone has generally lots of resolutions.
Resolutions and predictions. I went mainly with predictions.
Yep,
We're talking
yep.
about resolutions and predictions. I mean, you could say that like in just life, you could make just personal resolutions, rock resolutions and predictions.
Yeah. So
But we decided this year for our third year to make some, it's going to be interesting. Like we can almost like seal this in the envelope in the old days of like the paper days. And then you seal it away for a year and then open it up in December and see
Right.
what comes true.
well, yeah, so we, we do our year-end wrap-ups. So this will be a good way to look back and see if we look really foolish or what worked or didn't work.
I'm working, baby. The art department just came together. Like that was perfect. We just talked long enough for my technology to pull through.
All right.
All right, here we go. So,
You going to go first?
all right. So wait a minute. So look, I got a little bit different. I got a crystal ball. I got the rock predictions there for 2025. And but I like yours, Kevin, there with the logo. All right. Anyway.
I'm partial to the logo.
All right. Exactly. All right. You want me to go first?
Either way.
I don't think that this is going to be a stretch of a prediction, by the way. So I'm going to explain this out. I think I started with the easy. I started with a gimme.
I did as well.
All right, okay, that's interesting. That's good. Look at that. By the way, we've never talked anything about any of this. So like you're seeing the conversation fresh as it
Fresh as a daisy.
organically would happen. Exactly. Fresh as a daisy. I predict that 2025 is going to be a standout year for the Pretty Reckless. Did you make a similar prediction?
I did.
That's funny because you like I saw the face. Well, because you're probably thinking of it in the same way.
Yep.
We both are about to see them open for AC/DC.
Yep.
And they haven't put an album out since Death by Rock and Roll. And they've been working on new music. I'm assuming that there's going to be, the Pretty Reckless are going to explode this year. I love it. So I assume that there's going to be some new music soon.
Yep.
That is good because Death by Rock and Roll was a bitchin' album. I think it was a good setup, and we've seen this happen in the rock world with these bands that rise and their albums get better and better, and then boom. I think there's going to be an audience that really responds well to the Pretty Reckless with that ACD opener that they're going to be exposed to a lot more people now.
I agree, and it goes back to the days, when we were in high school and in college where when the big bands came through, they were generally grabbing a new up-and-coming band,
Yep.
and they got spotlighted, and that was how those bands generally got broken,
Yep.
And pushed to the masses. And, we talked a little bit about Dorothy and Halestorm, bands that are just, lots of people know about them. They've been around for a while. They've got hardcore fans that are into all of their stuff, but they haven't had that push in a way that gets them that exposure to a huge audience. And I think the Pretty Reckless is the same way. And,
Yeah.
And they're a great band. All of their stuff has been awesome.
Bitchin' live show
Yep.
with a bitchin' front lady, Taylor Momsen.
Yep.
Puts on a hell of a show.
Yeah. And, so now they're going to be exposed to that huge audience. And I've seen a lot of back and forth, like when they announce the show, like on social media, people are going, well, who's this? They suck.
Right.
And other people going, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to be phenomenal. And
Proof is
they're
always in the live show. It always gets back to that. Always gets back to the live show. You're going to see a great band live, no matter what their records are. When they perform, you see them live and it moves you. They're going to be great no matter what.
And they're just dynamic. You can't really kind of pigeonhole them into a genre of rock because some of their songs sound kind of country, and they hit it hard when they do, and everything in between. So I think that and that exposure to a stadium crowd is really just going to push them over the top.
Yeah, cool, very cool. All right, look at that. Same prediction. All right, I'm going to let you go first with the next one. This one, your next prediction.
This one.
How many did you have, by the way?
I did 3.
I did 3 also. All right, there we go.
So this was my layup, and it's Iron Maiden will be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year.
I almost went down that road. Okay, so inducted,
And
but
they
not
will show up.
nominated. Oh, I'm going to backtrack before the word inducted, but I would say it's a slam dunk for nominated. Not inducted, but nominated.
Yeah, I think obviously they'll be nominated. They were nominated last year. I think they're going to get put in because you got guys like Dave Grohl and Tom Morello, who now sit on the board, that have spoken glowingly about Iron Maiden's what they've done for rock and roll.
And that's what you're saying. Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine as being a strong advocate that we talked about in a couple shows back. I agree. I think that's going to be enough of a push to finally at least get them nominated.
Yeah. Well, and last year they were one of the top 5 bands in the fan vote. So yeah, I think they will get that. They will go in and they're going to show up and perform.
Sure. Yeah. Love it. I was looking up some factoids as you were talking, so I was making sure. Yeah, I know. All right. So yeah, absolutely. I was making sure I was like getting because I'm trying to remember how many times they had been at least in the fan vote.
Right.
And they've done well in the fan vote.
Yep.
So there is obvious recognition that they should be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the band, a lot of the metal bands and the hard rock bands that have gone in have cited them as an influence.
Right.
So it's like, it's well past their time.
Absolutely. All right. So this is, I feel like I've done my layup, so I'm going to go out on the limb here. So I'm going in an opposite direction. And this is probably my longest shot, even so to speak. I'm saying, my prediction, that we will see Mick Mars return to Motley Crue. And I'm going back to a what are the odds this is a what are the odds question that we had about a year to year and a half ago.
Yep.
And we were just talking about it with Boardwalk Rock, that festival. I don't know if this thing with Motley Crue that's happening is going the way that they want it to go with John 5. And that doesn't take away from John 5 in any kind of way. He's a fantastic and amazing guitarist. So that's not a dig on him. I just know that Motley, and like all of those guys in Motley, love the limelight. And I don't know if they're getting enough of it. And what would be a better story than Mick Mars returning and drawing that attention to them again? And to go even one step further, Mick Mars has even come out and said he would consider rejoining Motley Crue if they gave them the offer.
Okay.
So that has come out of his mouth. Now, that's only come out of his mouth, not the other band members. I don't know if it would happen as soon as Boardwalk Rock, but what a way to like draw attention to that festival, or it would come down the road a little bit later in the year.
Well, I basically gave it, I think, a 0% chance of happening. But
I said it was an 80% chance.
Yeah. So, I don't suppose it's not out of the question because I agree. They're certainly not getting the publicity that they want, good or bad,
and
even
the
more these
reaction
days.
to the new music, right? Like they went from a song to multiple songs to an album back down to several songs.
Right.
So they're seeing the writing on the wall.
Sure.
And that's Motley Crue also. Like, they're just one of those bands everyone wants to see the original members because they're such strong personalities. And we all grew up knowing the people in the band as much as the music. So everybody wants to see the original people there.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's not necessarily a dig on John 5 or his ability, but Mick is the heart and soul of that band.
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
So despite what Nikki Sixx claims,
Right.
Motley isn't Motley without Mick.
Talk is cheap. Motley Crue is very good at it. They will throw it out there very cheaply and then take it right back.
Right.
You know, so like Nikki Sixx will do that, right? Like he'll blow it out there and then apologize and talk about Mick as like the greatest guy in the world. I could so easily see that happening.
Well, and it's not like they're doing huge tours anymore. And I know that was part of his rationale because of his health situation was that he couldn't tour any longer. And, you know, so if they're doing festival here, festival there, maybe they're doing the residency in Vegas again coming up.
Sure.
You know, maybe he can handle that.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
All right. You want to go with one?
I'll go with one.
Okay.
So, based on his appearance and being inducted as a solo artist into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's been well publicized about his health issues, I'm predicting that there's going to be an Ozzy Osbourne tribute live performance that will be his swan song to the music world. And it may not be 100% him performing. I think it'll be a mix where he does a little bit with his solo bands. Other people will come out and do songs, but there will be a Black Sabbath reunion as part of that.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, I've read a little bit about that too. Ozzy's has stated so much, right? Like
Right. He wants to do that.
Right. That's how he wants to go out. He wants to go out, not necessarily with solo work, but with Black Sabbath work.
Yep. And I don't think that, you know, he can, based on what I've read about his current health situation, could actually probably even do a full concert, and certainly not a tour. But I think there's been talk, something in England, something that is a send-off, and he performs there.
Yeah, I would love it. I would absolutely love to see that. There's no doubt I'd watch it.
For sure.
If I could watch it live, hopefully they would telecast it and do something like when they did the Taylor Hawkins, you know, kind of memorial. You know, they telecast that in different ways. I would love to see that. So, I mean, who can't watch that? I mean, again, like get back to the essence of a live show and how important it is. Ozzy's always been solid live.
Yep.
And even like if this is a swan song at a very advanced age and, you know, failing health from his Parkinson's disease, it's still going to be a great show because you know he's going to put it together enough to be able to do something like that.
Yep.
All right, so for my last prediction for 2025, I'm going local. And I'm talking here specifically about the Salisbury Center. So I'm going to put the caveat that I know nothing, you know, towards this as just a blind prediction on this. And of course, I'm looking
or wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking. It is wishful thinking. And so, like, you might be thinking, you know, because we talk so much about Dirty Honey. I'm not going to go down the Dirty Honey road because that was too easy. I was focusing on Local Palooza and thinking about like ideas for like acts here at Local Palooza.
Days of Five.
Days of Five. You might see them at Local Palooza and catch them. I don't know if that would be a bold prediction.
What about for Wildstock?
I like that. I like that a lot for Wildstock. But the Baltimore band Turnstile, I think that it's time for them to headline Local Palooza, and they would be a fantastic addition to the Local Palooza headlining lineup. I think they bridge punk and hardcore and hard rock and metal the way that few local bands can, and they would fit the Local Palooza flavor in an excellent way. So I don't know if it's much of a prediction as it is a hope, but of course they have a huge following in this area. And it would just fill that beautiful stage in a wonderful way to see Turnstile up there bringing it and rocking it out. That's not necessarily
contact their management and let's find out.
I might be trying to like a little bit of that. I might be like I said, it's a hope. So I feel like I've been trying to like put it out there. Maybe
Scott and I've been talking about trying to find some bigger acts. Obviously,
if you're listening, Turnstile, maybe I've already reached out to you.
If not, we're tagging you in this reel.
Sounds good.
Sweet.
But, I mean, just a solid act. I mean, just a solid rock act. I mean, they're right up the road. They're not necessarily DC. They're Baltimore.
Yep.
But Baltimore's close enough. It's the Nova area, Northern Virginia, D.C., Maryland area. So it's part of that.
They're dirty like Manassas.
Exactly. And it would just fit in great. I just see so many, like, you know, I think of Age of Ruin and the other acts that have been, you know, standards here. They would just jibe in a lot of different directions in a lot of different ways. Multifaceted band, in other words. So that's a prediction and a hope.
Awesome.
All right. Very cool. All right. You want to keep rolling?
Sure.
All right, so like along the lines of lists, we're going to completely shift gears. So I think that we did a good job, like wrapping up 2025, wrapping up 2024 and kicking off 2025.
Yep.
But as a part of this, I can't remember how it kind of came around, how we were starting to talk about Unplugged and Unplugged performances. There was an event that happened.
Well, isn't it an anniversary or something of MTV Unplugged's launch?
That was it. It was yes, and I can't remember. Do you remember which age that was. I guess we have these gizmos that would tell us, but we're being lazy and just talking it out.
Well, I have to put my glasses on to use that. So, well, I mean, it could be a 30th anniversary. Maybe 95 it started.
Well, I was going to say, I think it was 88, 89 it started.
Okay.
Yeah. So 35 in and around that time. But either way, like, I mean, those MTV Unplugged performances exposed bands in a lot of in a different direction, especially rock acts. And I think in its heart and its golden age and its heyday, you would see these bands perform songs in ways that you wouldn't expect to catch them in their live performances, which were electric performances. And so at that time, before the times of YouTube, that was a really kind of a special occasion to kind of pull out of that box and see that. And it started to be a little bit slowly, almost like 120 minutes on MTV, like in the later hours at night, to get to like a level where there were some major acts that were coming out in the 90s, especially in its heyday, and then became a bigger thing.
So it debuted on October 31st, 89.
89.
All right.
All right. Yes. Yes. So let's do the math. Carry the one.
Well, let's see.
Let's see.
Born in 86.
2.
25th,
roughly.
There we go.
25.
35.
35.
35.
Close.
35. I like that. The brain trust in the Stand Up and Shout Rock show.
Do you know how many seasons they had, or I guess episodes?
They are still going to this year. Like, they're still happening. Those Unplugged episodes are still. Now, they're not coming out in the same capacity where they're advertised as a specific airtime on a specific day, but they're still happening.
Wikipedia says 32.
32 seasons?
Seasons, yeah.
That's user generated. So do we trust that math?
I'm going off Wikipedia, so.
Well, and the general myth related to it all was that the John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora performance is what created the Unplugged series, which...
Good point.
If you read, and I did a little bit of jogging of my memory through Wikipedia and Google, because that was the first thing I thought of, you know, which was just an awesome performance at the Video Music Awards.
Yep.
But it said that the show was already in production.
Yes.
And then the first episode came out after that.
I remember hearing that too.
So everyone kind of thinks that the two were kind of tied to each other.
But that Bon Jovi performance at the Video Music Awards was iconic also.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that was John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora at their peak.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so good, even Kevin liked it.
It even moved a Megadeth fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
So we selected our 5 performances in a bottoms-up format.
Yep.
Top 5 MTV Unplugged. I will say, I'll say this out loud. I leaned heavily on the Golden Age. It was hard for me to step outside of the Golden Age, which to me is the 1990s of these performances. So that's where my order is coming from. I know that there's other great performances outside of that. I also stuck to more traditional hard rock performances,
For sure.
as opposed to pop performances.
I don't get out of my lane all that often.
Exactly. I loved Sheryl Crow's performance. I could say that that's a rock performance, but I would also say it's, you know, also a pop performance as well. And I wouldn't put her in a hard rock category, but I still loved her Unplugged. But so in other words, that was omitted from this list. All right. So anyway.
Well, especially when you got to limit it to 5.
Right. Exactly.
It's
right.
what moves you.
Right. That's the hardest thing. So like, I know some people like, so I do this thing on social media where I put out like just in my year-end wrap-up, just my personal social media, like my top 5 live shows. I had like my cousin who I love dearly, John, I'm sorry if you're listening, but like he put out like my top 20. I'm like, well, anybody can put out 20. You know what I mean? Like whittle it down to 5. Make a choice, man. That's the difficulty in it all. Yeah. So anyway, sorry, John, I had to call you out. But anyway, you know, step up, man. Bring it to 5.
He's used to it.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with that being said. All right, my number 5 selection. Lou, you're going to love this. Alice in Chains, April 10th, 1996.
That's number 5.
That's number 5 for me. I knew you would not like that. I knew
I
it.
do not like that.
Kevin does not like that either. I will also say this is my most metal performance. You know me. I love me some grunge. So I'm going to start diving into the grunge. Like
Come
right
on.
now.
The only thing that can even come close in all of Unplugged is is Nirvana.
Well,
And
I'm
even
going to
that,
tell you the reasons why there's more close to that in a couple seconds.
Killing me.
All right.
But I know that you have this in here. So
I do.
But I have
I'm
to
not talking about it yet.
I got to give out the factoid. I'm going to let you talk about it, and then we'll go back to it again. But I'm going to give out the factoid about Mike Inez, the bassist in this, who has the iconic like words written on his bass: "Friends don't let friends get friends' haircuts." In response to Metallica all cutting off their hair, and he sees them the next day and has that written across the bass, which was amazing at the time because there was no social media then to call that out, and he used the vehicle of MTV Unplugged to do so. So props to you, Mike, for making that happen. All right, we'll debate this in a little bit. All right.
All right. For me, number 5, a little out of my lane.
You did, man. Like that is like so
I didn't put the dates of
for those
when the
listening,
actual
it's-
show was.
It's Eric Clapton,
Eric Clapton.
in 1992. You put
Yeah.
the year, so you got the year there. So
I got the year. That was close enough. So, the thing with this was
I do not have Eric Clapton.
Yeah, I know. The thing that I liked about a lot of these Unplugged episodes is that the actual show then was generally released as an album.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, so the Eric Clapton one is the largest selling album of any of the episodes, like by a long shot. And it's just really good because it covers the entirety of his career,
Sure.
all of the tunes he played in that show. So,
I mean, Tears in Heaven, was that a
that
number
was
one?
It was, and
hit
that was
off of that
written.
album?
That was performed for the first time.
Yep.
On that.
Yes.
So no one had heard that until that. So
And it blew up.
It did.
It blew up
Yeah.
on the charts then at that point.
yeah. So
I'm just not, I don't know. Like, that's just an artist that I've never just really, like, I know, obviously, I'm in great, massive respect for, but it's just something that I like just listen to a lot of.
Sure.
So like, it's just never, I know, you have to click ultimately with the music that you listen to, and I never clicked with that. So
yeah, and a lot of classic rock radio when we were in high school was playing his stuff. So it's cool from that perspective. And yeah,
yeah, gotcha. All right, number 4. You want to go with yours
sure.
since you're there?
Since you're not going to like it, but Nirvana.
Look, we're going to argue about positions here. So I'll say that because it's not like this one's not on my list.
I know. I know.
All right. So you want to say anything more about that until I can debate you?
Well, I
about
think
why
I think
should
it was
be
a
higher on
great
your list?
show, and and I'll argue for sure about the ones I have above this because I think they deserve to be higher
Me too.
than this one. But of the bands that were, the grunge bands that most of them all ended up doing Unplugged. I just didn't like their performance as much as I did the other bands.
Wow.
And I have them higher on my list.
I mean, that is supposed to be, a lot of people allude to that as the requiem for Kurt Cobain. Like he was doing his own requiem because it wasn't soon after this performance
that is true.
So it was kind of like he was foretelling his own passing, and the stage looked at it like that, right? Like with the dark purple and the lilies, that were there. And
Right.
so, yeah, I'm not gonna like hit you on it hard yet.
And
But
the
I'm just gonna
picture
have to
has
set
the
the tone.
young Dave Grohl in it
I
too.
know,
which is-
and with the, those fan, the fan sticks that he was using on the drums. I don't know the term for that, but yeah, like I know it was a very out of the box drumming and percussion
brushes.
experience. The brushes, that's what I was looking for. Yes.
Yeah, so John just hit us up with some facts. So
All right,
yeah,
here we
album
go.
sales. The Eric Clapton Unplugged sold 26 million copies.
That's outrageous.
Nirvana had 8
8
million.
I mean, that's number
which-
2 at 8 million.
Which I'm kind of surprised, some of the other bands that are going to be on both of our lists aren't even in this group. Mariah Carey, which it's like,
Look, I'm just
whatever.
I'll be on Kevin on this one. Like,
7 million. I don't know who Mana is,
what's a more recent Unplugged?
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
5 million. That's pretty impressive though, that they actually sold those in this day of free downloads. Tony Bennett, 3.5 million album sales. Lauryn Hill, 3 million, and then Alice in Chains coming in with 2 million.
So that's probably, you have Eric Clapton, Nirvana, and Alice in Chains as representing the rock category there.
Sure. Yep.
Excuse me, with those album sales.
And the other one that's not on my list that I thought was really cool was they did the first of the Yo MTV Raps that had LL Cool J, and that was a pretty good episode too.
Yeah, that was your honorable mention.
Well, yeah, we'll put it there.
All right, I'm going to probably something that you don't have as my number 4, which is Lenny Kravitz, because I'm an enormous Lenny Kravitz fan. I mean, this dude has so much groove and so much soul, and like to come out and have it done acoustically. I mean, it's hard to zoom in and really kind of see the picture. He just looked so super slick in this performance. He was at his peak, and great slide guitar, like in these performances, slide guitar that's done acoustically. And there was just some good, just general jamming, and you cannot deny Let Love Rule and the whole hippie peace, love, and happiness vibe that bleeds out of this song in that Unplugged performance. And it's just amazing. And by the way, any of these performances are so easy to catch now on YouTube.
Yep.
So like you don't have to have any special streaming services. You can YouTube any of this and find good stuff out there.
Yep. So I'm pretty sure I know where this is going to rank on your list.
All right, here we go.
Number 3, I had Pearl Jam.
Yep. So you are kind of like with me though in this category. You're in the golden age also.
Oh, for sure.
You have not left the 90s.
Yeah. And it's tough, right? Because these 3, it could be 1A, 1B, 1C in my book in terms of how much I loved those performances. But the energy that Eddie Vedder had with this was, when you're talking about taking tunes that are all electric and it's now acoustic.
Yes.
That showed through in a way that
it was amazing.
That was just phenomenal. And then, total classic.
I'm letting you talk.
The grunge, the writing on his arm, So,
yes.
yeah.
Look,
Okay.
you got me. You had me at hello. All right. So like number 3 for me, I have Stone Temple Pilots in November of 1993. And I saw Stone Temple Pilots back on this tour, and they did something on that tour that was really cool, where they would play electric, but then in the middle of it, they would pull out the couches and the lava lamp, and Scott Weiland would get his smoke, and they would break out the acoustics, and they would do several songs that way, and then they went back to electric. And that was just what happened on MTV Unplugged. So like in that picture is kind of like a little bit, that screenshot showing that. It's really kind of the same arrangement. And in terms of even more than the couches, right? Scott Weiland's on a rocking chair. So like he's like doing the thing, just kind of like slowly rocking back and forth, catching the groove of the unplugged versions of those tunes in a laid back hippie stoner way. That is just, I love the feel of that and the look of that just as much as the songs. So yes, Stone Temple. Do you have them?
I do not. But it's interesting because about the same time when they did that, Guns N' Roses did the same thing when they played in Roanoke, where they brought the couches out and did an acoustic set.
Yes.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right.
You're on number 2?
I'm on number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fairly certain this is not on your list, but I got Kiss at number 2.
So there's my honorable mention. I'll say that you're right. Like you know me, and that's good. But I love this performance. I know where you're going to go on this. So go ahead. Yeah.
This is 100% from this picture, right? This is the what are the odds? Hell will have to freeze over before Paul and Gene ever do anything again with Ace and Peter.
Right. It was supposed to be done.
It was never going to happen.
No more Kiss.
And then all of a sudden, like about a month or so before this show was taped at the Kiss convention, suddenly the 4 of them come out in makeup.
Right.
So it's like, wow, it looks like hell is starting to get cold.
Right.
And then, the surprise, they brought them out.
And it wasn't like a random executive, like an MTV exec that just kind of threw this out there. Like, why don't you just, like, as a last hurrah or whatever, like, just do this Unplugged thing, which was out of the box for them. They just loved the feel of it so much that it just rekindled the whole band.
It did. And, and for someone who had seen them a few times, but it was all post makeup, hadn't seen that stage show, everyone kind of got the feel that this was going to happen. And yep, they got back together for a very short time, granted, but they put the makeup back on and they did a tour. And, so I got to see the 4 original members of Kiss in makeup for that tour.
Yeah.
And then they kick them both out again. but that's sentimentally, that's why
I get
that's my number 2.
I knew that was going to be on your list. I'll say that because you said you were pretty sure it wasn't going to be on mine, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be your number 1.
Yeah.
So like that's where the wrinkle was for me, and I think I know your number 1. All right, so this is going to surprise you, and then as soon as you know this, you're going to know my number 1. So my number 2 is that Nirvana performance. So I think that performance is iconic. Nirvana. Like what stands out for me about this particular Unplugged performance, I know a lot of people started listening to Nirvana that hadn't listened to Nirvana before, and it was also the release of the Unplugged album which helped with that. Since their sound was punk, and since it was, not necessarily hardcore, but had a harder edge to it, nobody paid attention to me, or not as many people paid attention to me as what Nirvana were all about. And this appealed to a much wider audience. That, what was it, 8 million? It's, I guess, 8 million over that the Unplugged album sold. And then all of a sudden, my mom kind of was like, I like that one Nirvana song. And that when she never would have said that if she would have heard the electric version.
For sure.
And that, to me, is what makes this performance iconic and why I have it higher on my list, even than Alice in Chains there, Mr. Salisbury. So were you going to say something?
Nope.
All right. So that's why I had it a little bit, I had it higher up there than what I was maybe expecting to and thinking about it more. It was just how it changed the appeal of Nirvana overall.
I can see put it there because it's really, really good. And I'm not the biggest Nirvana fan, but that was really, really good.
Yeah.
I still would put Alice in Chains over it, but it was close. A lot closer than it would be ordinarily on anything else.
Yeah. All right. There we go. There's number 1. There you go, Lou. Alice in Chains for Kevin.
I mean, we
He
all
has good
know.
taste.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But we all know where Alice in Chains rated for me.
Yes.
With all of those bands.
In the big 4 of grunge. And so
yes.
They are certainly grunge, and they're a part of the big 4 of grunge, and they're the most metal of the grunge bands. So, not that those other grunge bands aren't metal, and what's the difference between grunge and metal? That's subtle.
But, for the same reasons you cited for Nirvana being where they were, this was an iconic one too. And it was also, if not one of the last live performances with Lane.
Yes.
So,
yes, I know. I thought
the irony between those two bands,
right?
And it was kind of similar type look with the candles and all of that stuff too. So,
right. Right. Yeah.
And that they're my guys.
Right. And John just put up some streaming numbers. Do you still have those streaming numbers? All right. Yeah. I was going to say, I'm going to refer back to them. So I just saw blanked out. So I want to make sure I didn't lose them.
Yeah. And there's a lot of references, Nutshell. I forget what the
Alice
stat was.
Chains.
He put, that's what they opened the show with. And, I wanted to mention that the number.
Oh yeah. So
there
we're talking
is.
about YouTube streams as opposed to album sales.
Yeah.
So Nutshell as
This is also as of 2023. That's the last updated.
Oh
for this.
wow.
Yeah. 200 million views of Nutshell.
Right.
It's wild.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, it's a fantastic song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it tied into Jar of Flies. That performance is almost a performance of Jar of Flies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's more than that, but.
Well, and then, of course, they released this as its own separate album as well.
Right.
So,
look, I give Pearl Jam number 1. You knew it was coming. This is Pearl Jam at their prime. And not that they've fallen off too much. They're still a great band, a great act, but this Pearl Jam was hitting here.
I don't even think 10 was out.
Yeah.
But the follow-up, I don't think it...
Versus
hadn't come out yet.
Yes, yeah. No, I'm not sure if you're right. I don't think it had come out yet. But they're fresh off of Lollapalooza. And we were talking about that in the Lala Rock Doc on Paramount Plus at the time, and who knows what streaming service that it's on right now. They were hot off of that, and they looked it. You know what I mean? They had that young, hot energy as being the lead festival act that wasn't expected to be the lead festival act, right? They were playing second or third, in that lineup, but so many people were going to see them. This is when grunge exploded. And to me, this was the most electric of the acoustic performances, the most high energy.
Sure.
So they really brought to me all of that live feel from Lollapalooza into this Unplugged performance. And then you were mentioning it when Eddie Vedder wrote the word choice on his arm, as he is always socially active and passionate.
Right.
As a pro-choice statement during the song Porch. And the Porch, that song turned into a jam session, which was just so high energy for a chill, supposed to be chill, acoustic performance. I listen to Porch to this day over and over and over again. That's still one of my favorite Unplugged songs. It sounds just as high energy as an electric version of that song. So I had to go with Pearl Jam. To me, it also, I think that performance caused even MTV Unplugged to blow up. I think it became more popular because of this performance. As John mentioned, it started in 1989. We knew some of the stuff there, but I really can't go any earlier than this because that was, to me, what caught everyone's attention.
Sure. Yeah.
At least en masse. So, yeah, so that's why Pearl Jam's number one. Sorry, Alice. That's why all these other acts are in front of you, but it's not. It's by a nudge. It's not by a leap. So, I will say that.
That's why I said 1A, 1B, 1C.
You got to do 5 and you got to rank them. It doesn't mean that anyone's bad.
Nope.
It's just, if you got to sort it, that's why you sort it the way you do.
If you don't like it, that's why we want you to comment on our socials. So give us your top 5.
All right, so some stats, though, some YouTube stats, getting back to some of the acts that we talked about. Stone Temple Pilots with Plush, 30 million YouTube views. And John, is that of 2023 also? So all of these are as of 2023, not as of 2025. Pearl Jam Black, which is another passionate song. It's a slow song, so it's not necessarily the energy of Porch. 50 million YouTube views. Nutshell, as Kevin mentioned, 200 million YouTube views. So that's
200 millions.
Million.
That's because there's so many views, it gets an extra U. It's there's a U added to that. And then Beth from Kiss has 10 million YouTube views.
That's interesting.
I figured that would have more.
I know.
Well, yeah, maybe more, but I forget what the tune was, but when they're like, "Oh, we got something, we're going to bring back some of the family." And then they Peter and Ace come out and then they go into that song. I would have thought that one might have a few more.
Yep.
Cuz that was the big moment of that episode.
Right.
But yeah, 10 million, it seems a little low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. All right. Well, I mean, all of that is worth reviewing. I think that there are unplugged possibilities on streaming services so you can get the different variations of the song. So for what that's worth, those are Kevin and I's recommendations, and I think they're damn good recommendations.
And if you don't like it, too damn bad. No, but we do want
Kevin's
to hear.
were better, though.
But yeah, we do want to hear from the viewers.
Yeah,
so,
we'd love to hear your recommendations, including, I don't know what you guys would like. Is there anything that you felt we missed?
Mariah Carey, 1,000%.
That's just for looking.
Oh, my Lord.
I'd like to see what your bottom of your list is.
It would be probably Mariah Carey.
Well, take her out.
Especially if she sings that damn Christmas song in it.
I don't think she does. Does she sing that in there? Like that? I don't even know. I don't even remember any of her performances. I do love the LL Cool J.
Yeah, that one was awesome.
I mean, that is not that was with the deodorant. Remember he had the gobs of white deodorant hanging out of his armpits? It kind of became famous for that. I don't know, Lou, you have anything on your list that we might have left off?
Nah, I think was so far from MTV other than those few that we've mentioned. I couldn't really name any unplugged other than really what we've gone over.
The golden age. I tell you what I'd like to see. I'd like to see the Foo Fighters there. I'd love to see a Foo Fighters Unplugged. I was not bold enough to make that as a 2025 prediction. And if you noticed, I did not make any 2025 Foo Fighters prediction. I don't think that we're going to see them in 2025. That would be my prediction.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But it'd be a hell of a way to come back. I was on MTV Unplugged. I mean, they do great acoustic stuff.
If you guys could pick 2 bands to do an unplugged session, who would you pick for each of you?
Foo Fighters, I just said.
Besides Days of Five.
I love that. Yeah.
Dirty Honey.
Dirty Honey that's another, yeah. And that's my second. I'm kind of.
They don't have to be alive, so you can go in the past.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of interesting too.
Yeah.
That puts a different. I'm gonna have to go with alive because that puts too much of a different bend on it for me. I'm going to go with Halestorm. I think Lizzie Hale would put on a hell of an acoustic performance just because she seems to adapt to so many different rock styles that I think that it would be a strong performance for her. So I'm going to go with right now, without just spur of the moment, John, without doing any homework, Foo Fighters and Halestorm.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'd probably go Linkin Park.
Oh, yeah, that's
I'd like to see
that's a
that.
good call. That's a really good call. Yep. Yeah.
But I'm going also past, so I mean,
Yeah.
I'm doing a
I
little
would have went
cheating.
current Linkin Park.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that call.
I'm doing a little cheating of some of the people that were on there, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was one
Yep.
that I
remember
wasn't aware of.
I remember
and
that.
I probably would have liked that one.
Mm-hmm.
Page and Plant,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
That was a good one.
Yeah. No.
Yep. Don Henley.
Mm-hmm. Aerosmith.
Don't see that so far. Brian Adams.
Uh-huh.
And then a lot of trash.
Did you see Mariah
I
Carey?
mean, like Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, those are cool,
we were
but
dogging
yeah.
Mariah Carey today.
Yeah, probably Aerosmith.
I don't even like what's
Yeah.
one of her songs. I don't even know any Mariah Carey
John
songs.
Mellencamp maybe.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that. Other than that, it was a bunch of trash that I saw on there.
Kevin, would you put
Bjork was one of them. I was
Yeah,
like,
I
oh,
remember.
God.
So Mariah Carey did a cover of Jackson 5, I'll Be There. Then she
That's
did Make
right.
It Happen, Vision of Love, Someday,
Oh, yeah.
If It's Over, and Emotions.
Yeah. I feel like that Emotions was that was probably the biggest song that came out of that. Look at that. We just gave Mariah Carey some love. What about you, Kevin? Like, is anybody you'd want to see?
Well, I gave my number one.
Megadeth?
No,
Megadeth Unplugged?
I don't think that translates very well.
Well, that's what made me think. It made me wonder.
I think LA Guns would have been good on
That
it.
would be.
Yeah.
That would.
Aerosmith.
Ballad of Jane would be rocking.
Yeah. If Aerosmith hadn't done it and Steven Tyler could handle it,
Yeah, right.
that would be good.
When I go back, John, like in terms of like the past performances, so this, I don't know how rock and roll this actually is. It's definitely not hard rock or metal, but like a live act that I love that was kind of a pop rock act was NXS. I love that band.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see them.
That would have been
unplugged.
awesome.
Yep.
Yep. That's a good call.
Yeah.
Scott voted in Nickelback. You want me to?
Nickelback has an unplugged. They do.
Do they?
They do. It's a
Wow.
more recent unplugged. Yeah, so they've been
So
there.
he's not
It was
really
straight
a
trash,
fan that
though.
he didn't know that.
Yep, they've done it.
He's just jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, yeah. This is what happens usually with beers. These types of ponderings. we just went down that road. It would totally like. I guess it's somewhat on topic, but in the conversation we weren't expecting to have.
Well, it's not who'd you rather.
Well, we've done that.
And we have done that.
That's been some stuff we've talked about here.
Would you rather?
Would you rather? We all right. Yeah, we watered that down.
Another good thing, I mean, maybe not for this show, but you know how they do the Kennedy Center Awards and they
Yeah.
have the different musicians cover their songs?
Yeah.
Is to pick an artist and then pick who you would want them, what other artists you want to cover their songs.
I know. Yeah. It's like when Hart did Led Zeppelin. Like that's
Yeah.
an example of that where they just crushed Led Zeppelin songs.
We could start that. The Stand Up and Shout Rock Honor Awards.
That's a good idea.
It would immediately go to Days of Five. Like any cover you would want to do, you'd want Days of Five to do.
We're doing the bottom of the list then?
I like how you all froze.
I would
as
like to
was
hear
saying.
Heart by Days of Five.
Oh my God, which song? I'm afraid to ask.
Crazy on You.
Give me Barracuda. Barracuda's my only hope.
I think Crazy on You.
That's rough.
Well, you threw it out there.
All right. On that note.
Come on, we gotta hear that.
I was grabbing the instrumental right now.
Well, we do have a bunch of, we've been talking a lot about live shows, and we do have some good live shows coming up here at the Salisbury Center, too. So,
yes.
yeah. This Saturday, which unfortunately I'm going to miss. I'm
gonna
very
be there.
bummed about that.
I'm going to be there.
Dead Again, the Typo Negative tribute band,
Yes.
is going to be here performing.
Yep.
So I hope they're.
With Chris and the Whalers, is that it? Is that the opener?
And the Ramblers, you
The
mean?
Ramblers. I went to the Whalers.
That's a Hayloft Whalers, dude.
That would be an interesting
Chris and the
spin
Ramblers.
on his music.
Right? I mean, you see where my mind went. Yeah.
Maybe you can get some suggestions from your audience on if we do Wild Stock this year, some acts and headliners, because I want to do, Scott and I have been talking about it, doing a little bit different genres than what Locapalooza does, because that tends to be more heavy and punk.
Yep.
So I'm thinking more rock and maybe a return of Cracker Pipe.
Love it. Oh, heck yeah.
I'm trying to convince them to make a return.
I know somebody who would buy a ticket right now.
Yes. Hurricane Eric would be front row.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're trying to maybe do 2 festivals this year.
Cool. Very cool.
Sweet.
Exciting.
And then, of course, we got the Friday Night Metal Nights coming back.
Yeah, we do.
February 21st. This is the first one. Fellowship, Kill the King, Sun Against Artemis, Ranger, and Rise My Dead Ones.
Right. All right.
I think
Nice.
there'll be some moshing going
A
on.
little bit. I mean, not according to the owner.
Just no stage diving.
Right.
March 7th is another one with Division, Sound of Thunder, and others.
All right. Excellent.
Lots of stuff coming up. Got to
Lots of
get
shows
out
for
and
us.
got to get out and catch that live music.
And the next one I think on our list is Jerry Cantrell.
Yeah, that's going to be sweet.
Yep. So that's coming up for us, not at the Salisbury Center, but in another venue on February 11th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Right.
All right.
Catch you guys in 2 weeks.
See ya.
That's your tune.
I'm not doing it.
Come on, Kevin.
You can cut my mic because you're not going to be hearing any of that.
I don't know the lyrics at all.
Wait till you get to the chorus.
You're really not going to kill the show until it gets to the chorus.
The mics that are just on is what the video's killed, so you're good. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.